It is freaking cold, dude. Saturday morning, and I didn't change it up this week. I'm on this Super Duke, just like I've been all week. Normally I ride a different bike on the last day of the week, but I cleaned the wheels on this bike last night. I waxed it a little bit. I oiled the chain, and I checked the tension on the chain, and you know, so I figured whatever. But I love this bike, dude. This Super Duke 1290. And one of the things that's super cool about it that I wanted to talk about is the single-sided swing arm. When I first got the bike, I thought to myself, oh dude, this is going to be a hassle, because I had to buy a 60mm socket. I had to buy this socket because the Super Duke uses this, it's a 60mm nut. And it's held on by, it's got like one little clip that's inside the axle, and then it's got another clip that goes around, and it's got a pin, and it keeps the, you know, it keeps this nut from loosening. So that's like their safety feature or whatever. But I had to get this, and I didn't have a socket for it, so I just welded a bar on it. But then the first time that I took the wheel off, it bent the bar, and so then I welded a little brace on there. As you can see, it's nice and strong now. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but that's what I use for taking my wheel off. Is I made I made that handy dandy wrench. It's really nice because unlike conventional rear ends of motorcycles, all you do, you take off these two little keeper clips, and you loosen this nut, boom, with this wrench, take it off, and then that's it. The wheel just comes off, and it's got 5 like studs that are sticking out that this rim goes onto. But when you take it off, the brake caliper and everything stays there. Most motorcycles, when you're taking the rear wheel off, you gotta try to you gotta mess with the rear brake caliper and like get that off and do this and that, and you don't have to do that with this one. You don't have to slide the axle out. You don't have to mess with those 2 adjusters, nothing. You just those 2 keeper clips, and then you take off the nut, and then the wheel comes off, and that's it, dude. And that's another thing, you know, that makes it really easy. And I also had to buy a stand specific to this bike. When I first got the Super Duke, I had to get this stand for it, because most bikes use this sort of a stand, and they have those little spools that come out of the swing arm. You just put one on each one of those, and then you go whoop and lift your bike up. Well, that doesn't work on the Super Duke because it's got the single-sided swing arm. So they make this thing, and this sticks into the hollow axle, and it's actually got bearings in there so that it spins. So how this thing works is that pin goes in the hollow axle like that, and then it just works like a normal stand where you just go like that, and then it's up off the ground, and it's got bearings in here so that that back wheel can spin. So I can spray the chain with lube or whatever. When I first got the bike, and I bought that stand, and I bought that socket, and I was like, dude, this thing is going to be a pain in the butt. Yeah, that's just what I was thinking to myself. I was like, dude, this thing is going to suck, because I'm like already having to buy special tools in order to work on this thing. But now it's dude, I've totally changed my mind about that, dude. This the single-sided swing arm is the best thing in the world, and everything about it is easier to work on and easier to do than a conventional double-sided swing arm. You know, like if you want to adjust your chain, it's way easier. To adjust the chain, all you need is 17mm socket, and you loosen up this bolt right here, the pinch bolt on the back of the swing arm, and then it comes with this thing here, this spanner wrench looking thing, and it's just like the one for the shock, like to loosen or tighten the spring, but it's way bigger. And I don't know if the GoPro can even see in there, but right on the other side of the chain here, there's a round thing with little notches in it, and you get that sucker back there, and it hooks on right there. And if you move it one way,
What it is like the axle is off center. So if you move it one way, it gets a little bit tighter, and if you move it the other way, it gets looser. And so that's how you adjust the chain. You loosen up that bolt, and then you just move this a little bit, and it gets a little bit tighter or a little bit looser. And it's, dude, it is so simple compared to having one of those on each side. Like the RC8 here, it's got one of these on each side. And, you know, so it's like you've got to adjust this one and then lock the nut, and then you've got to adjust that one and lock the nut. Then you've got to look at those little notches and make sure that they're right. And you don't have to do any of that on the single-sided swing arm. And then, if it wasn't easy enough already, they give you this little guide right here. And see how it's got like those two lines? That's a high and a low. So all you do is you have your bike in neutral, and you lift up on the chain like that, and see, it's I'm pretty much right in the middle there, you know, like if I lift up on the chain, and that shows you, you know, like is your chain like loose or is it tight? And I'm pretty much like maybe a hair on the tight side, but it's like well within the recommended lines. And that's something that KTM did that I have never seen on any other bike, and that is like an awesome idea for any manufacturer, that it makes it so easy to work on this bike.
And it would be really cool if the RC8 was a single-sided swing arm, but I understand why they didn't do that. And that's the reason why that is because I think that a single-sided swing arm is really not like full-on race. You know how like the top-of-the-line Ducatis, they all have single-sided swing arms like for the street? I would be willing to bet that the MotoGP Ducati does not. I would think the bike that they race like on the MotoGP circuit, more than likely that has a double-sided swing arm, just because that's the better way. That's like the more rigid way to have that rear end. You know, it's like you're going to get more flex out of the single-sided swing arm, and I don't think that they'd really want too much flex like in racing, because that way it makes it easier to adjust your suspension setup without the flex factoring into that. But anyway, I just figured I would talk about that because the single-sided swing arm is the bomb, dude. It is. I really like that feature on this bike, and not only does it look cool, but the two things that you do most often to the rear end of a motorcycle, you know, which are taking off the wheel and adjusting the chain, it just makes it totally simple. It makes it way easier, way less work than normal. But anyway, that's my deal. I just wanted to talk about that. Just wanted to praise the single-sided swing arm on this bike and how easy it is, how easy it makes it to work on this bike. So I will talk to you guys later, and have a great day. Peace.